Hey guys, welcome back to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video, and in today's video we are going to talk about the new endgame boss for Season 2, the Mekkatorque. Before I get into that though, I just want to start by saying a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Dragonheir Silent Gods. So if you are interested in giving Dragonheir a go, please do click the link in my description and get involved today. So, at the end of Season 2, we've hit the point where the Otherworld exploration has fully maxed out and we've now unlocked the final boss for the season. So the boss is called Mekkatorque, as you can see here. It's a level 250 boss, and you can only deploy each hero once each day. When the boss actually reaches 50%, its difficulty will be increased, and as you can see, the percentage is done on a server-wide basis. So everybody on the server is all working together towards killing this boss, and you'll get rewards at certain milestones, so at 10%, 30%, 50%, 75%, and then finally a huge reward at 100% when the boss has been killed. So last season, this lasted, honestly, I think it was just over 2 days. It really wasn't much at all. Hopefully this time around it does last a little bit longer. But just to kind of run through how it works. So in the battle against Mekkatorque, each of your heroes can only be deployed once each day. Choose carefully which heroes you want to deploy in each challenge. Players can challenge Mekkatorque multiple times per day, which is 6 times. And you will receive a corresponding reward based on the total damage dealt. Players server-wide will receive a reward every time Mekkatorque loses a certain amount of HP, and it will grow stronger after losing 50% of its HP. And on the final day that Mekkatorque is defeated, the Otherworld exploration will enter the pacified Balefire stage and settle the rewards obtained by all players server-wide in the Otherworld exploration. So before we look at the skills of the boss, I want to show you the damage requirements. So personal damage, you can get daily rewards, and these will be 500,000 damage, 8 million damage, 30 million damage, 70 million damage, and then the top reward each day, 140 million damage. Now that sounds scary, but if you think about it, that's just over 23 million damage per team across 6 teams. Hopefully by this point of the season, you should be able to do that with at least a few teams and get yourself towards that 140 million. However, you will probably find many teams will go significantly over that amount if you've got a few legendary heroes kicking about. Obviously, time will tell. I've not tested this myself yet, so I don't know exactly how well it will go, but we will see. Well, these rewards are going to be daily for as long as this boss is up. Next up, we've got the damage rankings. So this is going to be a total damage rankings throughout the entire time this boss is up. So this isn't just going to be a daily thing. And if you look here, the rewards for it are huge. So first place is going to get 80,000 Echo of Clypsidra. For reference, I think I have just under 300,000 all season so far. So to get that from one thing is crazy. And top 100 will get 30,000, which is still a huge amount. Top 50, 35,000. This is what the season comes down to. These rewards here will define your position. If you're in the top 100 and you manage to slip into the top 50 for this, you could see yourself jump up a significant amount and get yourself a better finish by the end of the season. So going all in on this boss is so important, and you do have a very short amount of time to do so. So make sure you pay attention to the boss's skills, build teams that can work around that, and do the best you can to finish and move into Season 3 in the strongest way possible. On to the actual boss. If we jump into cutscene here, we'll watch the cutscene and then we'll have a look at the boss's skills through this. That way we can see the area that we'll be fighting the boss in as well. I can run through a few kind of thoughts that I've had in the meantime as well, while going through the skills. Right, so as you can see, here's the grid for the boss. So it's 5x3, so it's quite a short area. If we jump over to the skills, before I look at the skills though, I do want to make it clear that the boss does have 300 resistance. So to land debuffs, you're going to want to look for around 320 accuracy on your debuffers. And if you are to go over 200 million damage in a single battle, so each of your teams has that cap, then your damage will be reduced by 90% for any damage thereafter. So anything over 200 million is considered extreme damage, and it will be significantly limited from there on. So, first of all, the Crystal Bombardment. So, the boss fires missiles at all enemies, dealing fire damage 3 times, then summons 6 magic crystal projectiles on the right side of the field. The magic crystal projectiles, any damage and debuffs applied to them are instantly applied to the boss, and the projectile also inherits a buff called Misstep from Mekkatorque. Once the projectile reaches 1 HP, it gains core damage. The projectile then launches lasers at set intervals, dealing damage to enemies within a line, and additionally inflict recharging speed penalty on targets if the projectile is not under core damaged. So that should be explained somewhere, I imagine. The second ability is deals fire damage twice to all enemies, so there's no avoiding that one. Next, we've got Spiraling Inferno, which deals fire damage to all enemies. Once again, there's no avoiding that. Now, I'm assuming this is the ultimate skill, so Sweeping Barrage unleashes a sweeping attack across the field from left to right. Each hit deals fire damage and reduces the skill's subsequent damage by 10%. So this is one of the most important things we need to think about with positioning. So with it hitting from left to right and then dealing less damage each time it hits, it's very clear that we need to have our tankiest heroes on the left of the board and our kind of squishier damage heroes, like our damage dealers, on the right hand side. So they're taking the hit last and therefore taking reduced damage from the sweeping attack. So that's really important to make sure you remember that when you're building out your team. So next up, we've got Energy Pulse Wave. Charges up briefly and then unleashes a high energy beam, dealing fire damage to all enemies 5 times. A lot of hits. And then we've got Antique Processor. So for each debuff the hero is inflicted with, it gains 1 stack of Misstep for an unlimited duration. So this is what it was talking about with the crystals at the start. So they gain the Misstep debuff too. The Misstep will increase the damage taken by 10% on the target for each debuff they are under. For an unlimited duration, I'm not sure how that works, whether that's going to be a continuous stack, so every time you apply a new debuff, it's going to go up and up and up, and eventually you're going to end up doing huge damage. Obviously, without testing that, I can't say for sure. We'll have to wait and see. Next up, we've got Precise Operation. So gains immunity to all control and ultimate down. When inflicted with Charmed, Fear, or Blind, the hero gains a stack of Thwarted Transmission for 10 seconds, which reduces the damage dealt by 30%. So if you are able to bring Charmed, Fear, or Blind into your team, you will get a significant damage reduction from the boss. It's a bit of a niche, well, they're a bit niche debuffs to bring in, but there are heroes who you could look to bring in. For example, Zarloth from the Necrosis element does Fear on his ultimate skill, I believe it is, so he could be a really good option for this. So bear that in mind once again. I don't know how necessary that damage reduction will be, because it is, like I say, quite hard to get these into teams, but it may be worth looking towards bringing them in, especially if they're serving another purpose in your team too. Next up, we've got Unstable Core. So the boss gains a stack of permanent Overheated each time a skill is cast. While the hero is under Overheated, attacks all enemies every 10 seconds, with each stack of Overheated dealing fire damage. So the way this works is, I believe, each time a skill is cast. So it's basically, you're going to be continuously taking damage from the boss, from what I can see. Obviously, like I say, without testing it yet, it's going to be a bit of kind of hit and miss. We'll have to wait and see how these things work out. One thing I do want to touch on with these Crystal Bombardment is I noticed from some of the videos I was watching earlier from one of the other servers who got this boss yesterday, is anybody placed in these 2 rows here, when the crystals spawn, these are actually the positions that the crystals are going to take up. So if you are positioning your heroes in the far right 2 columns, you're going to get them bumped into the middle or the far left. So, for example, let's just put a team in that I might actually use. So we've got a tank here, pop a healer in, and then we just want 3 damage dealers. So let's say you've positioned it like this. My Huberg here, when these crystals spawned, is going to get knocked to here, because he cannot be here when these crystals are here. So with heroes such as, I know a lot of people are going to be wanting to use Filto, the legendary, but Zadok, for example, for me, he's got a 3-row frontal cone damage effect on his ultimate skill. You want to make sure he's in a position where he's going to be able to turn and deal damage to all of these spots. So let's say these, for example, are the crystals. With Zadok, he's going to be hitting in a 3-row. You can control his ultimate to go sideways instead of forwards. If he's in this spot here, he is going to be able to hit all of those crystals when they spawn. So just bear that in mind with your positioning. The only other thing is, like I said, make sure you've got your tankiest heroes on the left and your squishiest heroes on the right, so they're taking less damage from the sweep. Other than that, I'll be building out all my teams tomorrow and recording videos over the next couple of days to show you how I'm building my teams, what heroes I'm using, and how I'm going about the fight. So that is all for this video today, guys. So just a huge thank you once again to the sponsor of the video, Dragonheir Silent Gods. So if you are interested in giving Dragonheir a go, please do click the link in my description. And a huge thank you to you guys for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.